Welcome to Young Farmer. I am your host, Tashlyn Louw. Through Young Farmer, we build a farming community where we exchange ideas with the overall idea to grow the farming community in the whole of Africa. Joining us today, we have agricultural specialist Akintobi, also known as Naija Farmer. Welcome, and we are so happy to have you here. So, just to begin off, could you share with our audience what initially drew you into the field of agriculture and how your journey as a farmer has begun?
Thank you very much, my host. I started, from my young age, started going to the farm with my, grandparents. Tend to understand how they grew basic crops and the rest of that. And even in our backyard, we have a place where we just plant vegetables around. And so I put in for agriculture in my university days. I applied for agriculture and I was given admission. And then I studied agricultural economics and extension. And from that, throughout the first 2-3 years, we were doing theoretical part of agriculture. But in the fourth year, there's something they call farm year in Nigerian university, where you do only practical part of agriculture in 1 year. And so I was just intrigued by the activities that we engage in fishery, in poultry, processing, and even arable. And so I applied to the school to give me a piece of land to practice what I've learned. And then they give it to me. And that was how I started planting, growing, and then getting experiences and also support from the agricultural departmental lecturers. And that's how I started agriculture. After my university days, I began to grow grains in the northern part of Nigeria. I went to do my university, my master's education in agricultural extension and rural sociology. And after that, I became a lecturer in one of the federal university, teaching agricultural extension and rural sociology. And so that's how I began my agricultural journey. And after a while, that was few years ago, I had some challenges on my farm and I was looking for support, help around how I can solve this problem. I looked online. I'm very good with Twitter. That's where I use. And then I couldn't find help on Twitter, and I feel like I have a lot of knowledge. I have a lot of information that I can share to people, and I want to create a community of young farmers, that are having this same problem, and how we can come together and solve it. And so I started this Naija Farmer handle on Twitter, and over the years I've grown to tens of thousands, around 70 to 80,000 followers, and 80 or to 90% of my followers are young farmers that are also putting out information around how to grow, getting information on me from me, how to improve the agricultural production. And so it's a community of people trying to improve food security, and then we can share challenges, share support, share inspiration, and be able to grow together. Thank you.
Absolutely lovely. So it's very obvious that you obviously wear many hats, from being a farmer to a writer and as well as a researcher. So how do you think these different roles intersect, and how have they contributed to your work in promoting agricultural education and the knowledge transfer that you obviously talk about?
As a lecturer, my first skill is how to train, how to teach. And so, bringing that skills of being a lecturer, of being a teacher with agricultural background, bringing it to limelight, using social media to disperse this information. So, number one, the things that I do basically is to use my skill in conjunction with my agricultural background to teach people on how to improve agricultural production. Regardless of that, you are successful at the level of your education. And so what I do is I engage as a lecturer. You need to also engage in continuous research on how to grow food, on how to improve production, on how to improve even the socioeconomic characteristics of these food producers. And so it is researching about how to improve things, having the skills of a lecturer, having the background as an agric person, it's all intertwined together. And so you can push out information that are genuine, that are fact-based, that are scientifically proven, and they are also beneficial for, to create impact in terms of food production. So, these arts, these different arts that I wear as a researcher, as a lecturer, as an agricultural extension agent, they all intertwine together to be able to impact to young farmers that are also needing support, needing inspiration, and also involved in food production. So I think all of these work together for the benefit and for the good of African young farmers.
Lovely. And definitely speaking back to the production of food, food security is a pressing issue globally, and you can agree with me. Could you elaborate on the role of agricultural education in ensuring food security, particularly in Nigeria, and how you're contributing in this course?
So, agriculture, it's a process, right? And it's more like other forms of other sector. It innovates the way we plant 20 years ago, or the way we cultivate food 20 years, 30 years ago, even 50 years ago, is different from the way we cultivate food now, right? And this is as a result of improved education, improving processes, improving operations. And so over the years, the way our fathers produce food is different the way we are producing food. And there's a new change even in terminology. They practice agriculture, where agriculture is a way of life to them. But what we practice now is agribusiness, where we bring in the factors of production and ensuring that it is profitable. And so now for these guys, for these young farmers, what they want to do is they want to be profitable while creating impact. And so my role in all of these is to be able to give them information, education to be able to do all of that. My host, can you please take that question again? I think I lost something.
Okay, so obviously we're talking about food security being a pressing issue globally. And could you elaborate on the role of agricultural education in ensuring food security, particularly in Nigeria, and how you're contributing to this course?
Yeah, so food security is a big issue, especially in Africa. And there are some data that are talking around how so many factors have reduced the production of food. When we talk about climate, even security, access to basic production input, they are all factors that are affecting the 21st century farmer that's hindering production of food. Now, where I have come in, there's some parts that need the support of bigger stakeholders like the financial institution, government, to provide security, to provide capital. But when it comes to the knowledge transfer, where you'll be able to produce food based on 21st century processes, 21st century knowledge, that is where I've come in, to be able to increase food production, food security in terms of knowledge dissemination to the young farmers. The young farmers are quite open. They want to know about new innovations. They want to know about technology they can improve, they can add to their production. And that is where I've come in as an extension agent, as a farmer, a trainer, to be able to pass this information to the farmers so that it can improve food security. You can grow only to the level of your education, but if they expose your level of education, they expose what you can do, they expose you to bigger or more knowledge, you'll be able to provide or produce based on that level of knowledge. And so you can be able to produce even more food, and within your location, within your community, you can increase food security for the people. And if everybody in their community can be able to get right knowledge and be able to improve production, then we can be able to improve food production across Africa. And so that's where I've come in, to be able to pass on the right knowledge, the right production techniques, the right education around production, and people can be able to improve on their production. Thanks.
Lovely. And then obviously speaking on food security, we've come to know that agriculture is a critical sector for many African countries, including Nigeria. So in your opinion, what are some of the key challenges currently faced by the agriculture industry in Nigeria, and what opportunities do you see for its growth and development?
Thank you very much, my host. So, the thing there is the challenges we faced 20, 30 years ago are still there, even in Nigeria. And now we have a new set of problems. So we have infrastructural deficits in terms of electricity, good roads, and the likes of that. But presently, the climate change effect. The farmers are the least contributors to the climate change problem. But they are the most affected with this climate change problem. Because now, many of Nigerian production is rain-fed. We wait on rain to be able to produce. But now with the climate change problem, it has, destabilized the planting table, the planting calendar. And most times, people wait longer time to produce food. It affects food production. Beyond that, we have problem of security, where we have the herders and the farmers clashing. And so that's also a problem, right? So even the problem of capital. Nigerians agriculture, added 25% to the GDP. But Nigerian agriculture is the least finance sector in Nigeria. Even real estate gets more funding from the financial institution even than the agriculture. There is a Maputo Declaration by the African Union that says that every African nation should budget at least 10% to agriculture. The last budget that Nigeria did was less than 2%. If you have 70% of your population involved in agriculture and you are giving 2% of your total national budget to agriculture, how does that sound? So we have the problem of even financing, this sector. We have the problem of security, the infrastructural deficit, and even the climate change. So we are also, and even the problem of education. And my own little way, I am improving on that. If they have the right education, they can be able to improve production. But there are also challenges that hinder them from even improving or producing food. And if this problem can be solved, it creates a new avenue for growth. If you are at the last level, the only place you can go is to the top. And so if we improve many of these, if the security is improved, the infrastructure deficit is improved, we have good financing, what we can do is grow and improve food security. And especially for young Nigerians, we have a huge population of our population being youth. So majority of Nigerian population are youth. And many of these people, they have the zeal to produce food. Now, with all of these challenges, it's also a way of, discouraging them from producing food. And so if all of this infrastructural challenge, security challenge, and even climatic challenge are being improved upon, and people like myself comes in with the right training, then there will be increase in production of food, and we can engage these youths to be more productive to the economy and even productive to themselves and create impact in our country. And so the opportunities is huge, in terms of technological innovations in agriculture. Youngs are very innovative. They are also thinking, and when they experience problems, they also want to innovate. And so this is an opportunity for the youth to be able to innovate in agriculture. Talk about using social media to even also as a platform for marketing, rather than the normal offline marketing. And people are using social media now for marketing. It's also a big opportunity for Nigerian agricultural youth to be able to, annex that into their processes. And so the opportunity is huge. Food production, increase in food production, innovation, agricultural mechanization, when they start using improved tools to be able to produce food. And the last, which is, the long age span for youth. So if somebody is producing from 25 years, they have a longer age span to be productive to the economy, to themselves, and to the community, compared to if you are supporting people that are 50 years old. They have a shorter, lifespan to be, productive. And so if we engage our youth now, they have longer year span to be able to improve on whatever they're doing, and also improve to the improvement to the economy and the GDP. So the opportunity is huge when we engage this youth to practice agriculture.
Obviously, hearing from all of that, you definitely do have an impact on the community through agriculture. So your work as an agricultural extension specialist is integral to bridging the knowledge gap in farming. So can you share some of the key initiatives or programs you've undertaken in your community just to enhance agricultural education and the knowledge behind that?
Yes, so I've done a lot of projects. I've one of the projects that stood out to me was when I teach farmers on how to repackage the business side of cultivation. Everybody's thinking about, I want to grow this, I want to grow that, I want to do this, I want to do that. But they forget the business part of agriculture, and that is the part that I also improved upon. How to have your books packaged, your expenditure, your revenue, your profit, and the rest of that. And I did that for like over 300 farmers, young farmers, on how to run a farm management system where they have their books ready, where they have their they can package their book such that they can access credit, access financing, access funding. Many of them, they use their personal accounts to run their business. So I try to stop that within the community, within my farming community, such that they can have a business account where they can have proper guideline of how their farming activities or farming business is being run. And so I did that, which resulted into some of them getting funding, some of them getting capital or even loans to improve their business. And the one I'm presently doing is we are innovating. The local market is affected by the factors of demand and supply. You can take your grains to the farm market now, and then you will not even be able to get good profit, because if everybody's bringing their grains to the market, it affects the price. And so we are also looking at a premium market where you can be in that rural area and be able to sell to people in the community, people in bigger environments. So what we've done is to engage this farmer and have a warehouse within these rural locations where they can go and drop their produce, and then the warehouse manager can be able to pass across this produce information to the bigger market, and people can buy at the premium market. So I'm working on with farmers and some other organizations to be able to put this across to our farmers, so that people can be able to get better value for their efforts.
Wow, that's absolutely brilliant work, and I must commend you for that. So we do know that Nigeria has a diverse agricultural landscape. Could you highlight any specific farming practices or innovations that you've introduced or championed in your community, and the impact they've had on local farmers and food security?
Oh yes, I've engaged in a couple of projects. The recent one that I've done is around social agriculture, where we engage farmers to be able to leverage the power of social media to get bigger markets compared to the local market. So, I tried to bring about farmers together to engage social platforms for them to be able to access bigger markets. That is one. Also, another project that I've done, helping farmers to understand the importance of soil protection using crop rotation and manure. Many of our farmers just feel like, we just put manure on the soil and they just plant and all of that. So there's a strategy to it to ensure that the manure, really gives out its nutrients to the soil, to the crop. And so we've engaged farmers in terms of training them on how to do composting, and then how to spread around this composting on their farm to ensure that they get the right value for all of these activities. So I've done a couple of projects to ensure that these farmers also get value. I've done projects in around even poultry, where we've seen poultry farmers just dumping their poultry excrete just out. We've taught them how to package it, how to make it sustainable, and then how to sell it, or even who to sell it to. So we've done projects, a couple of projects around ensuring that there is this intra-agricultural kind of movement around, value, produce, and the rest of that.
And from that, it does sound that you are very hands-on with your soil, but also you are very hands-on when it comes to the pen and through your writings. So with that, writing is a significant role in knowledge sharing, obviously. Could you tell us more about your writings related to agriculture and how they have contributing to raising awareness and educating others in your field?
Thank you. We are in the world of social media now, and there are two ways to communicate, either by writing or by visuals. And then we have a lot of people doing visuals, which is good, but I'm very skillful when it comes to writing. And that is where I focus on, especially platforms like Facebook, WhatsApp, and Twitter, where you see a lot of writing text. And when you read text, when you're good at writing and you'll be able to communicate value within that short, text feature, you'll be able to give out information, and it sticks to people's brain. What you see sticks to your brain. And it's not like you're writing, you're reading it. And now with that writing, people reading what you're writing, they get to understand what it is. And you can put a little bit of graphics or pictures into it to just buttress your writing skills. And I think with this social media age, we need to have more skillful writer than a trainer. You can train, physically and the rest of that. But if you want to reach the mass market, you should be able to understand or be improved around your writing skills, so that you can be able to communicate information. And for Twitter, for X, formerly called Twitter, you communicate by writing, by text. And so part of my own educational, process is to be able to come up with good writing material or writing text that will be able to communicate information to the farmers and be able to digest easily. My writing skill is not too formal, it's a bit informal, so that you can be able to communicate to every diverse person. If a formal person is reading, they understand. If an informal person is reading, they understand. And so my writing skills, help me to pass across value to the farmers.
Lovely, I love that. I really do, especially because it's so inclusive to everyone, but also as a researcher, you likely have valuable insights into sustainable agricultural practices. Can you share any research findings or projects you've been involved in that hold promise for improving agricultural sustainability and increasing food production in Nigeria and Africa in a whole?
Yes, thank you. I did the research around the effect of climate change on food production in Osun State of Nigeria. That was a few years ago. And it's around how farmers in the rural areas are understanding the effect of climate change. And it will be surprising to you that these farmers, they knew that there's a change in the climatic factors, late rain, longer drought period, flooding, and all of that. But they do not understand the concept behind it. Many of them feel that maybe the gods in the village is upset. You'll be shocked at how rural farmers are taking in this climate change. And so we carry out that research to understand the pain point, understand what they are feeling around the climate change, even for the situation where they're experiencing. How are they, mitigating the effect of this climate change? I did that research personally myself. And then we came up with recommendations, crop rotation, changing in time, planting timetable, and rest of that. And what we did was to disperse the recommendation of that research to the farmers to say, okay, you are experiencing this. It is not the cause of your village. It is not just happening for happening's sake. There's something called climate change, and it is upon us. It has come to stay. What we can now do is to find practices that will help us to mitigate these challenges. And these are the things you can do. Crop rotation, mixed farming, early farming, maize cropping and the rest of that, and then to ensure that they follow through the guidelines that the extension services have proposed to them. And one of the things I also do is to work closely with the Nigerian Meteorological Service, where they give us the weather forecast for the whole year. And so when I get this forecast, we get it every year. When I get this forecast, I break it down into bits for farmers to really understand where we are going to get serious flooding. We tend to push out this information via social media to farmers to say you are going to experience flooding at this point in time in the year. So what you can do, if you need to start early planting so that you can be able to harvest before the flooding comes, or you wait after the flooding. So we are also based on my research around climate change, I've been able to come up with recommendations for farmers and then work with the Climate Change Agency to be able to break down climate change parameters for the rural farmers so that they can produce, they can be able to produce even with the challenges that we face with climate change. So this sustainable agriculture, to ensure that we mitigate the effect of climate change, has been helpful to a lot of farmers, and they usually call to say thank you for giving us this information, giving us this recommendation, and we'll be able to overcome some of the challenges. Not all, but at least they were able to overcome challenges that can hinder them from being successful.
Thank you so much for joining us as we travel to Nigeria to speak to the amazing Naija Farmer. If you have any questions for him, please do leave your question below in the comment section, or you can follow him a tweet at Naija Farmer and at Young Farmer. If you would like us to show anyone else that you'd be interested in, please do leave it below in the comment section. Until the next episode, goodbye.